Hey guys, welcome back. It's Matthew again, your friendly neighborhood DM. Right now, I just want to talk about cantrips, but also kind of go into D&D Beyond and just the basic search function. It's pretty straightforward, I know, but if you're looking up here in the top, it says search everything. It's that simple. So we're going to look into cantrips. So we're just going to write cantrip, and it's going to pull up search results here. And it's going to give you everything that says cantrip, obviously. So, I'm actually going to go to spells. And if you look here, it is showing you every single possible cantrip that you have available to you to use. As you can see, I'm just going to keep scrolling down, keep scrolling down, keep scrolling down. And there's a lot more too. There's multiple pages here. So, with all of those options, what do you pick? Well, I mean, some of this is going to be determined by what class you are taking. So, if we go back here to the main page, and we go into my characters, you're going to see quite a few because I have a problem. And you know what? We're going to look at, let's look at Callan. Callan's a sorcerer, so he has access to sorcerer's spells and cantrips. So, if you look here, you will see his spell list that I have selected for him. And I realize you guys probably, some of you are like, okay, cool, how do you do that? That's right here on Manage Spells. You just press that, okay? And it's going to show you all your known spells. And if you go up here, you can add spells. It's not going to let you do more than you have the ability to do. Like if you look here where it says learn, it's all grayed out. That's because we've learned all that we can. And it's going to show you every spell that's available for you to learn. And you select from these based on your level and, how many spells you're able to learn at one time. And the rules for your particular class. And we can go into that as we make different characters together of different classes. And talking about spell slots and all that. But how do you pick spells? Well, for the most part, it's based on what looks fun to you. If a spell, if you want to make an ice mage, learn chill touch, learn, frostball, learn spells that fit your character. This is a role-playing game. You again, chill touch, frostbite. And if you look here, and you just select, it's going to tell you everything about it. Now, briefly, I'll go over this just to give you an idea of what some of these things mean. So most of it is really self-explanatory, but some things might, be a little confusing. So we're talking about Mind Sliver. It is of the enchantment class, which is not that important for most of you. And we'll talk about, when those times arrive. It takes one action to cast. We talked about in earlier videos, actions, bonus actions, reactions, and the difference between them. So this takes an action. So the range for this spell is 60 feet. Components, it says V. V means verbal. You have to say something, which also means you have to be able to say something. That can be important because sometimes you're not able to speak. And if you're not able to speak, you're not able to cast this spell unless you have some sort of ability that allows you to cast a spell without verbal components. There are situations where that's the case. Duration, it's instantaneous. It's in this case it's a damaging spell, so it happens instantly. And there is a saving throw. Again, we spoke about saving throws in the last couple of videos. For this, it's an intelligence saving throw of 15. You've got to, roll at least 15 to beat this saving throw. The description of this spell: you drive a disorientating spike of psychic energy into the mind of one of your opponents you can see within range, so within that 60 feet. That target must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or take 1d6 psychic damage. So 1d6 of the psychic damage. And then also subtract 1d4 from the next saving throw it makes before the end of your next turn. Meaning, so if you cast this spell and your opponent fails the saving throw, it takes 1d6 psychic damage. And then next turn, you can cast this spell again, and he's going to make that DC 15 intelligence saving throw, and he's going to subtract 1d4 from that saving throw. So let's say, it's a DC 15. Oh, he rolls a 16. He's going to pass. No, because he is going to have to roll a D4 and subtract whatever he gets from that savings throw. So pretty cool. The spell's damage increases by 1d6 when you reach certain levels. So cantrips, and I apologize because I should have gotten into this before we talked about that. Cantrips are free spells. You can use them as much as you like. They do not take a spell slot. But because they don't take a spell slot, you can't upcast them, which means to use a higher spell slot for them. It's always, if you want to think of it, it's a level 0 spell, and you can't increase its level. But if you are a higher level, a lot of these spells will gain damage. Not all of them, but a lot of them. This spell's damage increases by 1d6 when you reach certain levels. 5th level is now 2d6. 11th level is 3d6. 17th level 4d6. That's just to increase the damage as you level up to beat the curve. So that is a very basic type of spell, a very basic kind of cantrip, which gives a lot of examples of how spells can work, and that's how most spells will work. Not always, because then you have spells like Prestidigitation, which is one of my favorites. It's a transmutation cantrip. Again, one action to cast, range of 10 feet. This one has visual and somatic components, which means verbal and somatic components. Somatic components meaning you have to do some sort of motion. Now, it lasts for an hour, and as you can see, it does a lot of things. I'm going to go read through these real quick. Your options: you create an instantaneous, harmless sensory effect, such as a shower of sparks, a puff of wind, faint musical notes, or an odd odor. You instantaneously light or snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire. You instantaneously clean or soil an object no larger than 1 cubic foot. You chill, warm, or flavor, which is an interesting, that can mean a lot of things, up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material for 1 hour. You make a color, a small mark, or a symbol appear on an object or a surface for 1 hour. And then the last one is you create a non-magical trinket or an illusionary image that can fit in your hand and that lasts until the end of your next turn. So not 1 hour, but until the end of your next turn. Which is, I guess, assuming you're in combat. If you cast this spell multiple times, you can have up to 3 of its non-instantaneous effects active at a time. You can dismiss such an effect as an action. So it takes an action to dismiss one of the effects. Listen, I could go through cantrips and spells all day, but really the best way to learn about them is to just read them, and really listen to the wording. The wording can be important, guys. And also, and this is more for when you get into spells that take spell slots, keep in mind, sorry guys, there are different components. Yeah, he knows a lot of ice abilities. I'm just going to look at darkness because I know it very well. So if you look at this, one action, 60 foot, 15 feet high, this says verbal and material components. Now, material components are as important as you want them to be unless this material component had a gold piece price to it. If it has a gold piece price to it, you have to either give that gold, you have to have it. You have to have that component to use this spell. Whereas, because it doesn't have a gold piece price to it, it is assumed you have it in your component pouch. So bat fur or drop or of pitch or piece of coal. Use that in roleplay. When you're casting this spell, say you pull out a piece of bat fur and crush it in your hand with a piece of coal, and as the dust falls to the floor, darkness radiates out from it. That can be fun. Or don't. However you want to do this, it's up to you. The only thing is, again, as you get into higher spells, some of these components are going to cost gold pieces. We're talking diamond dust, for instance. But we'll get into that as we get into higher levels. But that's cantrips. Very basic concept here. You can use them as much as you want. Read the fine print with anything in D&D. You've got to make sure you and can I just say, and this is just a tip for newer players, but when you're in combat, try your best when it's not your turn to, yes, pay attention to what's going on, of course, but also take a minute to get an idea of what you're going to do on your turn. That means if you're a spellcaster in particular, when it's your turn, it is expected that you know what kind of spell you're going to cast and know how it works. Newer players, listen, that's not always going to be the case, and that's fine. I don't expect you to have an in-depth knowledge of exactly how the spell that you're going to cast works. That's fine. All I ask, particularly of new players, is to have it up and to be reading it and to at least go, I cast Ice Knife. It does this amount of damage, but then there's something else about it. And we'll go through it together. That's fine. But at least show me that you're trying. But anyway, guys, so again, that's the basics of trips. There's a lot more. We could get into it again. Use D&D Beyond, guys. Go into that search everything, area, look up cantrips, see how they work. If you go here, cantrips, a cantrip is a spell that can be cast at will, like we said, without using a spell slot and without being prepared in advance, like we said. Repeated practice has fixed the spell into the caster's mind and infused the caster with the magic needed to produce the effect over and over. A cantrip spell level is 0. Obviously, there's more to it. You can open this up, and there's a lot more to it than that. But, utilize your sources. Um, Again, guys, thanks for being here with me. Like, subscribe, comment, ask questions. And until next time, good luck.